Uh, yeah, yeah,
Hey everybody, it's Megan with Loserly VSG. I am 4 days post-op. I had VSG surgery on December 27th, 2018. I'm 31 years old. So I did a quick video just of some clips from the day of surgery, but I just wanted to have a sit down to really explain to you how everything went because it was completely different than what I imagined it being. I showed up at the hospital at 6 a.m. Surgery was at 8 a.m. I had to do a pee test to make sure I wasn't pregnant. I got my IV in. I had to change into my gown. They put foot massagers on to keep my blood circulating. I got a shot in my belly to prevent any blood clots. And then I just waited with my friend Blair and my dad until it was surgery time. The anesthesiologist did come in and talk to me and make sure I didn't have any health problems that they didn't know about. The I'm going to say this word, but it might be wrong. Liaison, the middle person who runs back and forth between me and my family. She came in and introduced herself and let us know what she would be doing. And then the doctor popped his head in real quick, just said hey, and said we'd be getting on with the show pretty quickly. So they wheeled me into the surgery room. They were putting all kinds of sticky things all over my body. There was a bunch of people in there. I was put on a little table with big lights on top of me. And they put a mask halfway on me and just told me it was oxygen just to breathe normal. And then I felt them put something into my IV, which was obviously to put me to sleep. And then they put the mask all the way on my face and told me to take some deep breaths in, and I was out. The next thing I remember is waking up and having really bad pain right in the middle of my stomach. And I was saying, it hurts, it hurts. I have, I feel like there's a big cramp in my stomach. I need something. And at one point I heard, and I kept saying this over and over, and I remember saying, hello, can anyone hear me? And the lady had said, like, we've given you 2 things of morphine, you've had Tylenol, I think the other thing was like Dilaudid. And I heard another guy say, like, we can't give her anything else, her blood pressure is too low. And then luckily I faded out. And then the next time I woke up, I was in my actual room I was staying at. And during this whole time, I refused to open my eyes. They kept saying, can you open your eyes? And I said, no, I'm awake, but I don't want to open my eyes because I don't want to get sick. So they ended up putting a patch behind my ear to make sure I didn't get sick. And I slept for a little bit longer. And when I woke up, I was in my regular room, and Dad and Blair were in there. And it was hard to open my eyes. But when I finally did, I realized I had an oxygen tube over my face, but it wasn't even on. So I took that off. And then if you saw my other video, there's a picture of my lip. And right here was really, really swollen. Like maybe when they put the tube in my throat, they caught it on my lip because it was like I bit my lip, but it was really, really swollen. And then the next day it ended up blistering, but it's pretty much gone now. So once I sat there for a little bit longer, I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any gas, nothing. And I was like, I know that I'm supposed to get up. I'm supposed to walk. I'm supposed to be sitting in a chair. I need to go to the bathroom to make sure all of this is going good so I can get out of here. So I kept asking the nurse to come in, and I first said, like, hey, I'm ready to get up and walk. And she said, okay, does anybody need anything? And then left the room. And I looked over at my dad and Blair. I'm like, did I just say that out loud? Did you guys hear me? Like, I told her I was ready to go. So she came back in a little bit later, and I said, I'm ready to get up. And so she kept saying, well, I just don't want you to be in excruciating pain. And then I said, well, I really need to go to the bathroom. She said, well, I just don't want you to get up and be in excruciating pain. And I finally said, can you just stop saying that? Because I feel really brave and I feel good. I want to get up. I need to get going. But when you say that, it scares me. So please don't say that to me anymore. And I said, I will let you know if I'm in pain, and I'll sit back down. So every time I got up, they had to take my foot massagers off. Those had to be on all the time to keep the blood circulating. I got up, I went to the bathroom, There was a tiny bit of dizziness, but no pain. And so I sat once I went to the bathroom, I came back and sat back down, and about 5 minutes later I said, I'm ready to walk. So I did a lap around the rooms, and then I came back and I sat down in the chair because the doctor had said the only goal he had for me was to sit in a chair. But I was going way above that. So I said, okay, let's sit in the chair for a while. So I sat in the chair and I was super tired. So I could be in the middle of a sentence and I would just fall asleep. Or if someone was trying to talk to me, I would just fall asleep in the middle of them talking to me. So it was kind of nice, but I kind of felt bad because there were people there and all I could do was sleep. But it is what it is. And so about every hour I decided I wanted to get up and walk, and I had to keep going to the bathroom, which I knew was good. So I just kept saying, I'm ready to walk, I'm ready to walk. And the nurse would take me around and I would walk. And then it got to the point where just my family members could walk me around. And so that's what I did most of the time. And it felt better to be up and walking around, not because of gas, just because sitting in the same position with the incisions was annoying. So I did that the whole first day, pretty much just be with family, sleep, and walk. And then the next day, they woke me up. Well, no, they didn't wake me up. I was already awake. I knew I had my barium swallow test at 6:30 in the morning. So they came and got me and wheeled me down there. And I had to stand in front of this machine. And they gave me this drink, and it was thick, clear liquid. And it didn't taste good. I mean, it wasn't the most absolute worst thing I've ever tasted, but it didn't taste good. And I was taking drinks of it, and he just kept saying, keep drinking, keep drinking, keep drinking. So I did. It didn't hurt me. And then I put the cup back down, and they watch it go down into my belly. And then they make me sit, and I had to wait 10 minutes. And then I stood back up in front of it, and they take a picture. And that's the x-ray that the doctor reviews to make sure there's no leaks. They took me back upstairs. The doctor looked at the x-ray. He came in and told me we were good to go and that I could start trying liquids. So they brought me Jello, chicken broth, water, and ProSource, the protein that I was supposed to take there. And no one ever came and monitored that. And no one ever came and brought me anything more. Excuse me. I just drank as I thought I was supposed to. I kept refilling my water one. I refilled my broth one a couple times only because it got cold. And I didn't eat very much of my Jello, and I didn't drink all of my ProSource. But nobody came in and said, like, you need to be drinking this much, or can I get you more, or anything. So that's all I really had there. And during this time, I was still walking and walking, and the nurses were like, this is so amazing. We don't have anybody that just wants to get up and walk this early and walk this much and is not in this pain. And so I was happy because it surpassed all my expectations. And, I was most scared of that gas, and not having any was a blessing, and I still have it. I mean, I burp after I drink some things, but otherwise, nothing painful. Some things I did want to touch on that bothered me a little bit was the amount of stuff they brought into my room, like medicine and shot-wise, that I had no idea about. And the only reason they could give me that they were giving it to me was because we just do it with everybody. And I thought, well, that's not a very good plan. Like, we're all different. We don't all need the same things. So the first thing that happened was the nurse walked into the room, and she's like, I'm here to do an insulin pump consult with you. I'm like, I don't have diabetes. She's like, oh, well, the doctor ordered one. And I said, well, he got it wrong. I don't have diabetes. And she said, yeah, he must have been messed up. So then she left. So then a guy comes in from the respiratory team, and he's like, I'm here to do a breathing treatment. And I said, I can breathe just fine. And he kind of just shrugged his shoulders. And I said, I'm not going to have you blow that medicine into my face when I'm breathing just fine. Like, if I start having problems breathing, then yeah, definitely I'll call you. And he's like, well, it's your choice. And I just said, well, I'm not going to do one. And he said, okay. And he left. And they came back about 2 more times, another time that day, and then the next day. But by that time, they were like, you still don't need one? And I was like, no, I still don't need one. And then they'd say, okay. And then they would leave. So I never got a breathing treatment. I never needed a breathing treatment. It was just something to add on to my bill. So then one of the nurses tried to bring in the B12 shot. And I was like, what is this? Our book says that we can either have the B12 shot or we can do the B12 pill. And we start the B12 pill when we get home. And I already have my B12 pill. So she's like, well, he just gives it to everybody. And I said, well, I'm not going to come back every month for the shot. And I said, is that what I'm going to have to do? She said, yeah. And I said, no, I'm not getting the B12 shot. I have the B12 pills. I will start tomorrow. She was just like, okay. And again, when I ask her, it's just like, well, this is just what we do for everybody. And I said, well, I'm not just everybody. So then another nurse came in with, what was it called? Maybe Pepsid. Yeah, Pepsid. And I was like, why? And she said, well, to prevent any acid coming up and ensure you don't get any ulcers, and which I was thankful for because that's something that I was really concerned about. But I said, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but what doesn't make sense to me is I had 2 appointments with my doctor where I discussed these concerns with him over and over. And his response was, I'm never going to give you something if you don't need it. And I've told you guys before, he wasn't not a preventative doctor. He told me no on a lot of stuff. So then for them to come in and be like, the doctor has ordered this, I'm like, why did he not tell me about any of this when we were together? Why did he tell me no when I asked about this stuff? It doesn't make any sense. I did say yes to the Pepsid because no, I don't want acid reflux and no, I don't want ulcers. So I did let them give that to me twice. They did give me another blood thinner, I guess it is, shot in my belly. I was okay with that, obviously. I had a morphine button that I could push every 12 minutes, but I really only pushed it when I would get up to walk, just kind of to prevent me hurting, in my incision areas. The day when I was leaving, the dietitian came in and she said the same thing that she said in the appointment before. So yeah, I got charged for that again, but did I need it? No, because she didn't tell me anything new. Luckily, I was in the shower when the physical therapist came, and she asked my friend Blair, like, is she doing okay? Can she get up and walk and all that? And she's like, oh yeah, she's walking everywhere. She said, okay, well, I'm not going to bill her then for a session with me, so thank goodness. One of the nurses wouldn't let me unhook my IV real quick to put on my pajama top. Like, I wanted to get out of the gown and put on my pajama top, and she was like, nope, no way. The doctor doesn't let us do that. Well, luckily, it was right before her shift change, and so when the new nurse came on, I was like, hey, is there any way we can unhook this IV and I can just put my pajama top on real quick and we put it back on? She's like, oh, definitely. So she let me do that right away. Luckily, Blair was there because Blair would say, well, this is what we do at my hospital. This is what we do at my hospital. We would just let people unhook it and then hook it back right up. And so since I knew it was possible, I asked, and that other nurse let me do it. My incisions, he put one right in the middle of my boobs for some reason, and then right in my bra line, and then a couple down my belly, and then right above my belly button. And I don't understand why there's one in between my boobs and why there's one right on my bra line. So I can't really wear a bra. So we'll see how that one plays out. I do have, I think, like 24 staples in my stomach that I will get removed on Thursday. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I plan on being super strong. The incisions also have that, I don't know the medical term even though they said it, but that clear bandage over it. And the middle incision, it had a pool of blood. And I had told the new nurse, another one that switched on my last day there, I was like, this has a pool of blood in it. I don't know how it's going to heal if it stays wet with all that blood. And she's like, it's fine. Or if it needs change, then I guess you don't need one at all. Well, a lady from the bariatric office came to check on me, and I showed her my incisions, and she's like, that one with all that blood in it needs changed. And I said, well, the nurse won't change it. She said she's going to change it. So I told her, I was like, well, Diane from the office says you need to change it. So she changed it, but she didn't do a good job. So then when I showered, blood was going all down my stomach because she didn't stick it correctly all the way to my stomach. So then when the doctor came in, I was like, hey, this middle, because he said those bandages need to stay on until I see you next week. So when I said, this middle bandage is already coming off, what do you want done with it? He said, she needs to put another one on it. So when she come back again, I was like, the doctor says you have to change this bandage again. And she did a good job this last time because it stayed on. There hasn't been any issues. But I don't know. I guess it's just the way it is. Like, you get some friendly people and some not so friendly people. And I get it. She said that she was trying to discharge two other people and she just got another one. And she just wasn't really having it that day. But I was happy. I knew I was getting out. I was doing a really good job. And so none of this has been bad for me at all. I'm back at my parents' house. I'm drinking my liquids every 15 minutes. I can do 1 ounce every 15 minutes. I'm up walking, taking my vitamins. Um, Shoot, I can't ever remember the name of that thing that you have to breathe in to make go up, to a certain amount. I've been doing that ever so often. Just ready to be on the upside, which I think I am, and get healing and get back home and get back to my regular routine. So that was it. That was my experience with my VSG. And I was super scared it was going to be like those horror stories that you hear of other people's, but it wasn't. And so I am pleasantly pleased. If you have any questions for me or if I miss anything, just comment below, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys on my week update on Thursday or Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.